Well, I'm very honoured to have as my guest today on the podcast, John Cinya. John Cinya came to Australia in 1998 seeking asylum as a Sudanese refugee, and since that time until now has become an established community leader, particularly in Western Sydney among the Sudanese community and more specifically among the Sudanese Catholic community. His work involves going into high schools and speaking to youth and working alongside others in the Bakita Centre in Western Sydney among the Sudanese. John, it's an absolute privilege to have you on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to sharing some time with you today.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Look, let's talk briefly about your work and what it involves. I know you're a deacon in the Catholic Church, and obviously you have religious duties that you perform, but you also go into schools and you help people in need. Can you just give us a little snapshot of what that involves?
Yeah, this one still goes back to when we start arriving in Australia,
Yes.
And I first settled in Hobart, in Tasmania. Too cold. So in 1998, I moved to Sydney.
Yes. Hobart's a lovely place to visit for a short period of time.
Very nice, fresh. The air is fresh and clean air,
Yes.
So after that, on the process of migration, our number increases, And back in Sudan, as Christian, we always look at the roots of being as Christian, So we form up this Sudanese Catholic community in Sydney, became the chairman. And from there, of course, always is good to ask. When you ask, you'll be given. When you search, you'll find it. And when you knock the door will be open. So we asked the church, as I was the chairperson, we asked the church as Catholics, as Christian, if we can able to provide for us what requests from the church, Sydney Archdiocese and the Diocese of Parramatta here. So at the end, where San Bakita Center was born in Flemington, so we request the Archdiocese, and then Cardinal George Pell was the Archbishop of Sydney. So he availed for us that center, which is in Flemington, behind St. Dominic Church there. And also we could request for our children to go to Catholic school. That's why we request that, and definitely we have quite a number of kids, over hundreds of Sudanese kids going to Catholic school, especially in Parramatta Diocese here.
Well, you've become an established community there now after 20 years. Things have changed, haven't they?
Yes, definitely. We were established.
Yes. And now you have children who were born in Australia.
Born in Australia. So that's the good thing is of it, And also request for pastoral care worker to work at San Bakita Center. So there we have English classes for adults.
Yes.
Mom and dad. Computer classes. We have got sewing, sewing
you mentioned the Bakita Center. Who was Saint Bakita?
Yes, Saint Bakita was a slave girl. She was sold 3 times in Sudan by the Arab traders around 1840s. The 3rd time when she was sold to an Italian consulate in Khartoum in Sudan. So because she was very little, probably by the age 11, 12, and the Italian consul took her to Italy. And on the process, she became a Catholic, she was baptized, and she became a Canossian sister. And after that, she was serving in Italy, serving the Italians. They call her our Black sister. So in 2000, Pope John Paul II beautified her.
Okay.
After that, she was canonized as a saint. And she was a slave. It's our role model anyway.
Yes. Well, that's a very, very appropriate name that you should take on.
Yeah, too. So also as the process goes on and our kids are going in Catholic school, so we also ask the diocese Parramatta to employ somebody to work with the schools, because most of our parents are not educated, mainly because of the war, in Sudan. And
Right.
most of the kids were born in the camp. My parents were born in the camp, war. So I was employed there in 2005 in the Diocese of Parramatta here as a Sudanese community liaison officer
Mm-hmm.
to help our children and their parents to understand the education system here.
Okay.
Mm.
Because the education system was pretty much destroyed because of the war that was
War,
taking
yes,
place in
yes,
Sudan.
right after the British left in 1956, even before that, 1955, the war started.
Mm.
And up to now, it's still going on in South Sudan.
Yes, it's one of the longest, if not the longest, continuing wars.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
So in 2005, we got the peace agreement between the North and the South, and they say, okay, South can have independence now. So in 2011, we got independent, but leadership is always fighting for leaders everywhere, even here in Australia. So
yes.
the vice president got against the president, and they start war, and there are a lot of factions there in South Sudan. Still, there's no real peace.
Well, I know you have a real passion to serve among the Sudanese community there. And so to help us understand what's behind that passion, can we go back to when you were in Sudan and you were a young boy? Let's talk a little bit about your family and where you grew up and what life was like.
Yeah, I grew up, I will say, in the church in Sudan, The church gave us a lot, even in Sudan. And after I got involved, and then I went to high school. In high school, because in Africa, we do have what we call the young Christian student. I was there in my school. I was the secretary. And then at the end, I was the chairperson of the young Christian student. And then after that, I finished high school. And then I was admitted to the University of Juba, which is in Juba, the capital of South Sudan. But because of the war, the university was moved to the north in Khartoum. And because most of the, almost 3/4 of the students were mainly from the north. So the government of Sudan said, no, we have to move the university to Khartoum. So I moved to Khartoum. And then after that, we have also in the university, Sanagazi Society. Sanagazi is one of the saints in Africa. So I became also the president of the Sanagazi Society in the University of Juba. I present the youth also in the World Youth Day in Manila, in Philippines, 1995. And then I just engaged with helping others, especially with the young people who are displaced in Khartoum. By then, millions of people were displaced. Children, sometimes they don't have parents. We have to look the means how we can help them, spiritually, financially, with some aids, like that. So after I finished my university in 1995, there was no way for me to stay in Khartoum. There was harassment,
What was the basis of the harassment? Was it religious persecution?
Mainly religious. That's one. The second one is the thing that you are also a rebel.
Right.
You are from the south. That means you are fighting the government of Sudan, even if we are within.
Okay, so
we decide after that, as a young person in 1995, we decide to escape to Ethiopia through the bush, walk through the bush to Ethiopia for 2 weeks.
So the south of Sudan is
mainly African descent,
mainly African, and then the north of Sudan is much more influenced by Arabic speaking.
But the skin is dark as we are black, And even particular those in the west, in Darfur region.
So it was impossible for you as a Southern Sudanese African Christian to get a job and have opportunity in Sudan at that time.
That's true. Once your name is John, you can't get employed. So we decided to escape to Ethiopia after that.
So was it a straightforward process to get out of Sudan, get into Ethiopia, and then be resettled in Australia? How
No,
long did that process take?
was not. Even to escape to Ethiopia is half whether you are dead or you are alive.
Mm.
So we escaped through the bush, walking through the bush, no food, meeting animals, wild animals, and then we escaped. And then we came at the border between Ethiopia and Eritrea. And then after that, we had little money. We took a truck, not a bus. Truck is cheaper than a bus, to go to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. So when we arrive, we report to UNHCR, United Nations High Commission for Refugees.
Yes.
They register us as refugees. And then after that, they say, now we give you money, you go to the camp. The camp is at Ethiopia-Sudan border, just in western side of Ethiopia. So we went to the camp. And then we were just there, still helping young people. We got almost 80,000 South Sudanese at that camp.
Gosh.
It's no education, nothing. So what we did was to volunteer to teach our own kids in the refugees camp.
When you say we, who is we?
I mean myself and those who escaped with me from Sudan, those who got the education in Sudan. So we regrouped voluntarily to teach our kids in the camp. We built up school classes, with the mats, and the rooftop is grass. We make a mat like a board.
Yes.
We burn a wood to make a charcoal.
Yes.
We smear the wall with the black, and then we, by the help of United Nations, we're able to get some chalks, some books, and some textbook. And that life of mine, being in the refugees camp, was helping young people, teaching them. Even I got some of my students were here, and they're here now. And some even finished their uni. One is in Melbourne. He finished his degree and is working with the government now in Melbourne. He said, this one was my teacher. I knew English from him. Yeah. So after that, we were there for 4 years. I was in the camp.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. In 1997, the Canadian government came to the camp, said they want to settle people to Canada, South Sudanese. And then after the UNHCR, because I was the one interpreting for people there in the camp, and I was registering. People say, John, can you help us? The UNHCR, can you help us to register the people so that they can go to Canada? So but that process was helping. And the lady who is from Nigeria worked with as a regional coordinator in Addis Ababa. She said, John, don't go to America or Canada. I will get for you a form for another country. I say, why should I wait in this very horrible situation here in the camp? She said, no, don't worry. We will get for you. So after, there are some groups who went to Canada, US, even the US consul came to me and said, John will help you to go to the United States,
Yes.
But later on, this lady got for us, who had been teaching kids in the school, she got for us 30 forms to come to Australia. But by then the condition was that if you don't know how to speak English, you cannot come to Australia. So we fill up that form, and we were the first group to come to Australia from the camp there. We were 5, and then after that it follows with other people.
So that really was the first wave of Sudanese refugees that came to Australia.
Yeah, we were the first, yes.
Yeah.
Only few families in Sydney, or 5 or 6 families like that. By then I was not married,
Yes, okay. So you could have gone to USA or Canada, but you came to
or Finland, or I don't know where I will end up. But lucky enough, I'm here now.
Are you happy with how things turned out that you came here?
Of course, 100%. I cannot go anywhere anymore unless I have to go to Antarctica.
It must have been quite a shock going from the camps of Ethiopia to the town of Hobart.
But my life has not been that bad as those who had been in the refugees, because I've been in the city, like in Khartoum,
Okay.
Yeah, so I travel also to Manila,
Yes.
Nairobi, Kampala, Uganda, all those areas I've been to.
Right. So you had good English, you're university educated, and you were in your mid-20s around about?
Yeah, yes, late 20s.
Okay.
When I came, yes.
And then you came to Sydney, and then you got some support. How did things start to fall into place for you in Sydney? You're in your late 20s. Did you get a job straight away?
Yeah, but the first thing, I was, of course, working in the in warehousing, things like that to start with. And then after that, I went to Uganda in 2001. Got married to my beautiful wife, and she came to Australia in 2002.
So your wife was Sudanese, but she was living as a refugee in Uganda. Have I got that right?
Yes.
And so you got married in Uganda.
In Uganda.
And you both came out?
Yes, she came after I returned to Australia.
Mm.
And then she came in 2002.
And you have children here in Sydney?
Yeah, I got 4 children. One is turned 18 just last week.
Mm.
And another one is in year 11. He's 16.
Mm.
One is in year 8. And one is in year 6.
What particular issues do the young Sudanese face in Australia?
I think the most difficult one is the parents had suffered a lot. And to alleviate this, we need to educate our children. But there are challenges, and I have realized that there are issues that our young students are facing after leaving, school. Even before leaving school, many were facing dilemma of falling off. I call it falling off the cliff, because they do not have directions or support.
Yeah.
So the reason is because most of the parents are not educated. Mm. And what happened is that they become, redundant at home, doing nothing, playing games sometimes. No further, studies or a TAFE or university, Even those who are join these institutions fall off because there's no direction, nobody supporting their parents, supporting them. This leads to challenge behavior in the community and things like that. Mm-hmm. But what do we do about this situation is that I approached Sister Maria Sullivan, and to help us how she can help us practically. So she did organize actively volunteer mentors. So now we have got over 60 probably students whom through the mentors she gets from fellow Australians to help these young people who finish year 12, Mm-hmm. So it started in 2018 up to now, still the program's actively alive. Mm. But hinder lack of fund to help these students with materials such as devices, buying books, and organization skills, and, empowering them, communication, confidently how they can get through this. This is what we are working at now. Mm-hmm. But generally, most parents are trying to jungle around and to get maybe whatsoever work they can get to earn money, in the construction, in cleaning jobs, and all those things they can be able to progress ahead with their kids. But the aim is the next generation is what we are aiming for.
Yeah, it's been a very big challenge, and I think what we need to appreciate is purpose comes into our lives when we have a strong sense of family, a strong supportive community around us, good government, good education system, good health care, and what has happened in Sudan and many other places in the world is that those things have just completely broken down. And so you've got a whole generation who've not been educated, who haven't received healthcare, who've lived in the context of war. And I know many of those young Sudanese women that came out with perhaps young children to Australia, they didn't have husbands, did they? Because they were killed in war.
Because the husband, some were killed, most of the husbands were killed, and when the bombs were falling on people, people were in disarray, and in the camp.
Yes.
And some of the young people and young ladies and young men, they end up in the camps, no relatives, no parents, and we call them lost boys and lost girls. So most of them grew up in the camp, and most of them have been adopted by their relatives and friends, And that's why you will see that when you see family migrating, maybe 10 in a family, it's not the biological children of the person who is migrating, the lady, but it's because of the other children of the other relatives or friends who has been killed in the war, That's why you see large families.
So you were helped in your early years as a 27, 28-year-old Sudanese refugee living in Sydney, and now you're wanting to pass on what you've learned to other young people. What do you do when you go into schools and you talk to kids? What do you say?
I think what I say to them is generation comes and generation goes, And what I tell them is to educate themselves, because that is a key to success, Once you are educated, you can break through. Whatever life you are living in, very beautiful country, Australia, nobody will discriminate you. You'll get employed, you'll work. And that's what is happening. Some of our people kids who finish year 12 or finish uni, most of them are working, especially those who finish their high school here. I got a lot of them who are social workers, some are nurses in the hospitals, And we held those through Catholic University. We set up another program in 2005 to help those who come with little English to get to university at Australian Catholic University in Strathfield. So we got some few there, and by that time, and they were able to finish their uni, and they are nurses, social workers,
Yes.
And they're working now. And so for our kids, I just encourage them to study hard. If they need help, let them ask teachers. We are there around to help them, whatsoever the case may be. And they are getting most of our kids are finishing year 12. I would say all of them finish year 12.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And the building is not only to help they help themselves, they help their family, and help this beautiful country, Australia, too, It's not for vain. They help also others.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've got much to learn.
That's what I say to our young people. I say, when you finish school, finish uni, or whatsoever work you'll get, there's something that you will give back to the community.
Yeah.
That's how community works.
At the time that we're talking, it's September 2021, and I know that the COVID-19 pandemic and in particular the Delta virus has ripped through Western Sydney. What's been the impact of the pandemic on your community?
I think it's because of the lockdown, One is the psychological impact is that family, we live as a community and we visit each other, we share. If there is happiness or if there is sorrows like that, we share, And that has got a very great impact for our family, even for the kids. Not seeing their cousin, like my children cannot see my brother's children, their cousins, And the impact is also because education-wise, most parents are not able to help their children with education because they are not educated. They cannot read. So it becomes very, very difficult.
Yes.
Kids can go to their device, parents are advised to encourage them, but they say, I encourage my son or daughter. It's not doing anything. And they cannot help, and they will pretend to be doing the work, but it's not. They go to social media or playing games. And when they see their parents coming, they just, change change what they are doing. And, it's a bit difficult. It's because lack of education is a problem. And also, most as a family are still settling, the resources is limited.
Yes.
Device, for example, some families got no device, but most school are helping borrowing them device,
Okay.
Yeah. And
So,
some kids who don't have device, usual teachers print the hard copy and
right.
bring the parents to go and pick up from the school so that the child can work from home using the
Yep.
hard copy. But
We
it's very
just,
challenging.
for sure, we just assume a lot of the time that young people have a computer, they know how to use it, they've got good internet access, their parents are going to support them.
No, it doesn't. It will not work because it's not the computer doing the work. It's the child doing the work in the computer.
Yeah.
It's the one typing the keys, the words, the sentence,
Yeah.
the assessment. If he or she doesn't do that, the computer will not do for the child. So, so whatever the case may be, that's why the teachers are the eyes of the children at school.
Yeah.
When they are at school, the children see others kids doing, they will do. Because nobody is around here in the house to say that why you don't do it, because they don't see somebody's doing it.
Yes.
So they are imitating others. They see that others progressing. They don't want to be left behind,
Yeah. Well, the sooner this is all behind us and the sooner that kids can get back to school, that will be so much better. And as you say, this period of time has been a time when many young people, particularly in communities on the margins, haven't been able to access education and learn in the way that others have. And I think that issue of equity, we need to keep
of course, the issue of equity must make the difference a lot. Yes. And because most kids who are on the margin, are there at the bottom of the line, and they don't have access to like other kids are having the privileges that they do have. Sleeping in a very good bed, on a good house, breakfast is there, lunch is there, dinner is there.
Yep.
Their time is very structured, But
Well,
the time is not structured, the kids work randomly. I try to encourage them to like work with their timetable, but it's not structured because of the family situation we have. Large family, like 10, living in 3 bedrooms. How can you imagine that 10 people in the family? I used to have 15 in my house in 4 bedrooms. My brothers, my mom, my niece, my nephew, my other cousins, all living 15 people in my house by then.
Well, I know our politicians and our media talk about the need to get tough on crime and tough on juvenile crime, but we need to properly appreciate the social issues that impact upon young people and put in place preventative measures so that young people have a purpose and a future. How can people listening to this and watching this, how can they partner with you in providing the support that you need to do the work that you're doing?
I think through the mentoring program that we are getting through now is the only thing that we can break through, because life is learned. That's what life is learned. Life is copied from older one to young one, and then the young one to continuous like that. So if our young ones, like the firstborn, for example, if my child who is the firstborn gets through, go to uni and things like that, the other ones also will follow. But that one comes through the support. And if it's not supported, the older one is not breaking through, not getting any education, the young one will say, hey, If the old one is not what about me, he's doing silly things, what should I do? So it doesn't make any sense, but we start from the top and then we go slowly by helping the young ones,
Can anyone become a mentor? How does the program work?
I think through Sister Maria Sullivan, Joseph, she's the one helping. This afternoon also she got new ones who are being trained to help the young boys and girls, We got about 38, I think, who are finishing year 12 this year.
Yes.
So we are mentoring all those, and then next year too, like that.
And each one of those 38 will have their own mentor.
Mentor, mainly from Anglo-White Australian, who are
Yes.
living in northern beaches, in the northern Sydney.
Okay.
Those areas. They're living around those areas. They just want to help. They want to really help.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear about. Perhaps we can talk to Sister Maria and find out a little bit more about that program. What about equipment needs? Do you?
Our problem is the devices.
Yes.
That's one of the big problems we are facing now with devices. So if we can get enough devices for kids,
yes,
I think it will help, because without device, a child will be left behind. So if you can get help with device, that will be the greatest.
Okay.
We will appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See?
Well, John, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk with you. And I'm sure people listening and watching this would like to know more about the work of the Bakita Centre, and particularly your work among the Sudanese community there, and we'll have information available for people to be able to do that. Thank you so much again, John.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Ian, for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
All the very best.